Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Alexander. Alexander is from Denver, in Colorado, in the USA. So let's see what Alexander has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Alexander.
Hi, William. How are you? I want to say good morning, but I know it's not. It's probably like 5 o'clock over there.
Yes, good morning for you, good afternoon for me.
Good afternoon.
So
How are
how
you today? Thank
Very
you for
good,
this
yeah.
invite.
No, thank you so much for taking the time for the interview today. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
And
not a problem.
how has been for you so far the last morning of 2022?
Very relaxing. I'm a high school teacher, so this is my winter break. So I've had 2 weeks off, and I can feel the pressure. I started back on Monday, so
Oh,
I've
really?
had 2
Already?
weeks.
This Monday already back to work on the 2nd?
Correct. Yeah,
Oh,
we were
wow.
off since the 14th, I believe.
I see. So I believe that teachers have a lot of time off during the year, like different periods. Am I right?
Yes. I mean, teachers in the United States only work about 160 to 180 days of the year. We don't necessarily get lots of breaks. We get
Right.
very quality breaks. We get our winter break, which is about a week or 5 days. This is our longest. So this is our Christmas holiday break. So this is about 2 weeks. And spring break should be about a week. But they're like smothered in between. We need them though. We definitely need them.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about your career as a teacher.
Interesting. When I speak about teaching, I speak about it in a way that it's something that I was blessed as an opportunity to pursue and develop, but it hasn't always been my dream. Like, that's not what I went to school for, but it is what I'm hired to teach. So I'm actually in Florida. I went back to school to get my second master's in traditional Chinese medicine. And so that was in combination with other medical programs that I did prior. And I was teaching in New York in 2004 to 2012. And then I moved down to get my degree. And then, of course, the pandemic, the whole world ended and everything changed. So I moved out to Denver, where there were much better opportunities for, at least for me, to be able to get something secure in a very risky economy. Yeah, but I've been teaching for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
And in between, I've been trying to activate my pseudo medical career, I guess one could call it. But honestly, medicine and the sciences has always fascinated me. So currently, right now, what I teach is an interbaccalaureate program. You might have IB schools in London or in England or in the UK. So I teach at an IB school in which, once they're done with the program, they're earning college credit. So that's a new wave of looking at education where students can be earning to the next stage. So it's sports, exercise, and health science. So it's like a mishmash class of 3 different subjects, which in Western medicine is very hard to like pin down. What is health?
I see.
Things
Wow.
like that.
So the reason why you live in Denver is because of your career?
Correct. I'm also in the process of reinitiating my acupuncture licenses so that I can start opening up clinics here.
I see. And all your family are back in New Jersey or Florida? You mentioned about Florida as well.
Correct. I think I have wanderlust. I've definitely seen a good chunk for my age and for my generation, a good chunk of the world. This is my 6th city that I lived in.
Wow.
I've grew up in New Jersey, then went to school in New Jersey, then went to Philadelphia for a short stint to work in a laboratory, moved back to New York for the beginning of my public school teaching careers, because I was accepted into a program. I don't know if you've ever heard of New York City Teaching Fellows, but obviously teachers are in demand always. And it's a program that brings in people who aren't using what they went to school for. So I went to school for biochemistry and biotechnology, and I wasn't really happy where that was going to take me. So then I applied to this program that got me into the classrooms. And so I've been teaching the sciences, science and math being one of the hardest positions to fill in a school. So I was teaching that for several years, and that was in New York. And then I moved down to Florida because teaching is a very hard beast. And teaching in New York City is a whole beast of its own. I was teaching special education. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like in a school system, all I have to say is that there were bars on the inside and the outside of the school I taught. To give you an idea, this is elementary. And, so we have a huge system of inequities in our country. And if you look very carefully, the three major systems will always show you what kind of country you live in: the medical, the educational, and the prison, the judicial.
Very interesting. And do you see yourself living in Denver for a long while?
I do, actually. I'm very fond of Denver. Right now, I wish I was trying to position the camera in a way so that I could have the snowy background. But the light is too strong, so it just like fades me out. But yes, it's very snowy. It's very beautiful. I have been working like a fiend, and of course, I moved here during the pandemic, so that's very weird. I haven't explored as much as Denver as I would like to, but I will. And the people here are really very relaxed, very different from the East Coast, which is what I am, an East Coast person trying to become a Midwest person.
So before we start our journey, William the Magic Box, I would like to tell me something interesting about yourself. You already said a lot, but there's something still that you could share?
Something interesting about myself? I don't know if I find myself interesting. That's why it's always a difficult question to answer. But I know that I'm into a lot of very unique, interesting things that people either shy away from or are attracted to. And that tells me I must be doing the right thing. Because, for example, I think something interesting about me is that I can assimilate into any crowd, into any group or organization very easily. I always called myself a chameleon. But my true nature is one that really looks for the long-lasting spiritual side of the whole purpose of why we're even here. Complicated story as to how I got to that. But I think people see that when they come to my home. They see a lot of different religious articles represented from around the world. And I think that is one of the more interesting things about me, because a lot of people have a distrust of religions, which I do too, my mom being a Catholic nun. So that's definitely something I always wow people with. And they're like, wait, how are you? Well, she's a third order layman Franciscan nun, but so devoted that she had to go into the service of. But through the years, I've come to realize that the messages are the same all throughout religions. And it's not about the religion or the organization as much as it is about the message. And if the message rings true, it's something to hold up. And I feel a lot of people drop those out of just disdain for the current dominating religions in the world. And they can't really distinguish, well, that stuff led us down wrong pathway, so I shouldn't explore it. And I feel that if I'm going to do traditional Chinese medicine, which works with energies, it's not something that I can overlook. And I also have to abandon what I've been told is not true through some other faiths to realize other faiths actually are speaking truths. So I think that's what I find interesting about myself, is that I'm kind of in between. I've always considered myself in between. I can easily see where people are going and why they do the things that they do. And then I can easily see why I'm so repulsed by it sometimes that I need to explore my own spirit.
Amazing. Alexander, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Welcome to William and the Magic Box, okay? So this is my best friend. Random fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to move a little bit before the first question. Let's do it.
Oh, I wish I could hear your music better. I
I
love to
know,
dance. I'm such a dancer.
I know sometimes Zoom kind of block a little bit the sound. Sometimes Zoom, Yeah.
Oh, I
Anyway,
see. Well, I'll
am
dance like I mean it.
am I saying your name right, Alexander?
Correct. Yep.
Amazing. So through the game, if there is a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay. Fair enough.
First question for you is, share with us a crazy story that happened to you when you were a child at school. Crazy or funny?
Crazy or funny as a child at school? Uh, I hate to say it, but I think it might have, I had a very secure upbringing. So my schooling wasn't as exciting as it might seem. It was drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up, do work, play video games, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. So I can't say that my early childhood was very exciting. I don't have any crazy stories. The most that I can contribute to that would be that my mom, being as religious as she was, she used to go on religious tours to Europe. So probably the most interesting that I could say, which wasn't of my own doing, was that my mom, when I was young, pretty much exposed me to a large chunk of Europe and Spain as young as 8, 7, and then she kept on going. And so I've been to lots of religious related places like Rome. I was blessed by John Paul II because of, yeah, I have a picture of it. My mom loves all these things. And for me, it's kind of like I have to balance out what exactly does it mean to me. But more importantly, I mean, I got to see places in Eastern Europe like Medjugorje in Yugoslavia, which no longer exist. Bosnia or Herzegovina, and been to Rome and Italy, Switzerland, and lots of various places before I was 10.
Wow.
So I guess that's not necessarily a part of school, but that's what I got to experience at that age.
Very interesting. I think you're very lucky to have the opportunity of explore, those countries at the same time as well, based on religion, but you're exploring. And, I think not everyone at this age has this opportunity to explore this way.
And I have been grateful for that. I do recognize that.
Amazing. Next question, let's do it.
That time I heard it.
Next question for you is, what do you think people need to know about each other before they get married?
Oh, that's a really good question. That one hits home because it's been about a little bit over a year that I just broke up with a 6-year relationship. And I'm not one to seek out relationships. I wait for the right moment to tell me that this is meant to be. And I think that kind of circles around the answer I want to give, which is, I think before people get married, I think they need to become friends first. I think friendship is underrated and very misunderstood now. We have friends we can easily get on Facebook, click, 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 friends, friends, friends. But I think friendship is foundational and then begins a marriage. Because if your friend can predict your moods, can see what you're going through, can then be there for you and support you, that's what I always thought a great marriage would be. Someone who understands you to the core of you, who accepts you for your faults and wants to be there or even work with you in improving yourself as a person, so that then that marriage bond is actually built upon something, not like a fake promise or trying to make someone else satisfied. Me growing up, I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. I'm a 43-year-old male, gay male. And in the Catholic Church, that is not very easy. So the idea of marriage for me became something like, well, I see these people getting married because grandma wants children in the family by next year. I see this person getting married because it'll be a savior from their life's mistakes, and now they can focus on something new, and now this person becomes a project, or the other person becomes a project. I've seen over, statistically in the United States, over 50% of marriages break up. So like, I've seen marriages in churches, you think that because of the institution, it's the holiest of holiest bindings, and yet not in their minds, not in the minds of the people getting married, or at least maybe one of them, or maybe subconsciously or deep down inside, both of them knew that it wouldn't work out. So I think for me, I've thought about this, obviously, that if I am to meet someone, they have to be someone who I can hang out with, someone I can be a friend with, someone who I know has my back, I have their back. And that essentially already is a marriage. None of the other pomps and circumstance of spending $20,000 to get a wedding cake and a big old party and everyone drunk. So I think friendship is the key underlining thing. And if you find that friendship in another person, that's a person you should consider proposing to.
And I literally gonna sign underneath your statement, because actually I was talking to that about with some friends the other day, that my next relationship, I would like to become friend first. I'd like to, because it says everything. What you just said, it's something that's truly believe as well. For it makes all sense. And actually, I never thought about that on my previous relationship, but I think for the next one, it's something that I'm really willing to, to have this bond as a friend and see how it goes in the future. For sure.
Oh, I love that. Yep. Thank you. I'm not alone.
For sure. Next question. Let's do it. Okay, before the next question, tell me how the alternative Chinese medicine has been introduced to you. How the journey started in your life for the first time?
Oh, that's a big question right there. That that one's gonna really open up a huge chest of information. The reason I got into traditional Chinese medicine is because Western medicine offered no solution to the illness I was born with. So I'm lucky in many different ways. Lucky enough that, and I'm going to use air quotation marks for this particular illness that I was born with, because in Western medicine, they call it genetic, but it runs in my mom's family. So my mom had it and her father had it, but it's called epidermolysis bullosa. It translates into blistering of the skin. So in other words, my mother, to start off with my mother grew up in Colombia, and she had to be sent to a convent because she couldn't walk the roads. By just walking, people who are born with this quote unquote genetic illness, and I'll tell you why I quote unquote it, they are unable, their skin can't handle friction. So if you think of like a carnival tent that's held down by ropes, if one of the ropes is already cut, it just takes a minor strong wind to pull up the entire tent. So that's how that's explained in Western medicine, that my gene, the gene that makes a particular protein that holds down my upper layer of skin, is not strong. So people born with this illness, in fact, this is why I'm also very lucky. There's a lot, I've learned a lot about this, but people who have carried this gene actually die in utero. So 0.03% of people who actually have this gene actually get to live and be born, but have a very complicated life. And so later on in life, I found out that I was actually very lucky to get one of the lowest of the expressions of this illness. So I used to, as a kid, have about 20 blood blisters on each foot. And if I went outside to mow the lawn, which back in the day we had a push one, within 10 minutes, I would have 4 blisters where I would grab. So I would get blisters just by writing with a pencil in school. And that's the illness. The illness is that your body your skin keeps pulling away, allowing for fluid to fill in, make a blister. And so technically it's a second-degree burn. So what I was born with was second-degree burns without fire. And that's just from action. So, I mean, it's a very interesting thing, but I think that illness is what plotted the course of my life, because of that, you know, my mom being religious for the sake of trying to get past the pain, because this illness was made into a documentary in 2010, I think, or maybe a little bit earlier by HBO. But actually, it was a film that came out in the UK called The Butterfly Children. I think that's the HBO name. I forgot what the name is in the UK, but they based this documentary, The Butterfly Children, and it's called The Butterfly Children because this is how the illness expresses itself, especially in a young child. There's 3 levels. I apparently have the lowest level, which only manifests blisters on like the palms of the feet or the hand, palms of the hand or the feet. And the illness itself, though, like it can get worse where your whole body, any friction, and when I mean any friction, I mean the pulling off of your shirt is enough to make cracks open up where your skin folds naturally. And, you know, just to fast forward a little bit, to know that there really is some kind of presence higher than us, always looking out. When I went to acupuncture school, in my last year of schooling, and mind you, how I went to acupuncture school, and I said it's because Western medicine failed me, is because when I went to school to study biochemistry and biotechnology, because I knew this was genetically related, I was hoping that I would be able to kind of discover a way to heal myself. Because I can tell you that for the first 33 years of my life, every movement I made always had to come with the consideration of the amount of pain I was willing to tolerate. And so I guess part of my my mind esotericism comes from the fact that my body constantly was under stress from the pain. And if you don't think pain can make a person trip out, I can tell you otherwise. It can make you reach elevated states that you're like, wow, I don't want to be going through this. And I have to push myself to a higher level in order to get through the day, because otherwise, as a kid, I mean, also I'm very hyperactive. I've done 2 decades worth of martial arts, which brings me back into like the Chinese culture and Asian cultures. But all those things always inspired me to like not give up, keep on moving. And of course, I just made the condition worse. And so I was constantly working out and then going back home to heal, working out, going back to heal. So right there and then, it's almost like something already put me in the path of having to heal first myself and then apply this to other people. And so when I graduated from school, college, there was no real answer to what I was looking for. And my mom was always like, pray, God will heal. Okay, so in a combination of seeing her, she made progress with her own illness too through the years. She always regretted it, having passed it on to me, because I have a brother who didn't inherit it, but I inherited. And so she always felt bad because she knew that was going to really alter my life. And it did. It has made me a much more, this is why I feel that when I say I can easily blend into crowds of people, but my true source is that of a higher thinking, it's because I don't think people have felt the pain that people born with epidermolysis have. Because to have your skin literally just rip off with the tiniest of friction. And so this brings me back to my last year in acupuncture school. Mind you, I said 0.03% of people are born with this who actually live. And if they are alive, they're going to have a very tough life. And of course, you can look this up on www.debra.org, is the organization. After the HBO movie came out 10 years later, they started a foundation, an organization that is trying to understand why this is actually growing. So if it's genetic, it's very interesting, because how are people who don't have this in their family line getting it now? And so this will lead to my other form of choices in life. But as I started to realize, it actually was curable. There was medications and treatments in the acupuncture school that was being given to me, and it was working. And in fact, I can actually claim now it's been over 10 years and I have not had any major outbreak or symptom. It's not even an outbreak, it's from friction. So it's just from moving or exercising, I don't get blisters anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the change in my diet. So ultimately, if I start talking about diet, you're never going to get me off. But um, what who I encountered was what really opened my eyes to the fact that we're not alone in this world. There was a mother. So my school was a massage and acupuncture school. And so there was a mother who was getting her massage degree, but her son, who was 18, was actually born with epidermolysis bullosa to the highest degree, but still alive.
Wow.
So he had no fingers because growing up as a kid, the blisters would fuse the skin together and then they would have to operate to separate them because you know how blister fluid is very sticky, the serum. So he had no fingertips because the fingers were never allowed to develop to its completion. From the neck down, all the way to the bottom of his feet, it looked like he was in a fire constantly because the thing that makes it so painful is that the blister forms. So you have to deal with the pain of the fluid, but then the blister goes away. But then you have to deal with the rawness of the new baby skin underneath. And so it's just this continual cycle of blistering and healing and just constant pain. And so this poor man who's still alive, and he is actually, I believe he's improving because he went through the whole program and hopefully he found the same kind of cure. I stay in contact with him every now and then. But yeah, I was shocked to see that that could have been me, and it wasn't. So even though I grew up thinking that I was cursed, in reality, it might have been a blessing in disguise because I saw how bad it really could have gotten for me. And I don't think I was going to allow that to happen no matter what. I'm just one of those people. It's in my namesake. It's Alexander. I just can't go down like that. So I fought and I feel like I have achieved my cure, and it has been over a decade. And I'm very excited about that. And so I try to inform people that ultimately I know what it was that caused, because, you know, our epigenetics, epigenetics is the new concept that our environment is actually affecting our genes in the very moment. So our genes turn on and off depending on what it is you're delivering to yourself every single day. And that could be a polluted environment or polluted food. And so, of course, in the United States, I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that we have more food that you don't even allow in your own country, right? You have genetically modified restrictions on food and other things, right? And we're all gung-ho about it here. So my father was, rest in peace, he passed away a long time. My mom is still with me, but my father was the one who made dinner all the time, and he was from Uruguay. Of course, long story short, I found out more of my genetics because Catholic moms don't like to talk about their past when they have had their rebirth. But I was first generation in the United States from two immigrant parents, and my dad in Uruguay is a very cattle raising big country, so they love a lot of meat. And so I came to realize, so right now, currently, just to avoid all like labels and stuff, I don't eat meat. I'm mostly plant-based. But if it wasn't for that transition from my father's dietary upbringing, I would have never learned that my illness was being caused by my food sources.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for for explaining all of that. And I'm sure people watch the interview, they will appreciate that for sure. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Next question for you is, who would swap lives with for a day, if you could?
I'm going to say Greta Thunberg right now because she has me laughing nonstop. I can only imagine. And I say Greta too because I work with high school students. And so she's a great bridge as an example for my students because she's a young person that mobilized young people. And where is the voice of the young people in our world? I've always been pro child culture, and we ignore children as having feelings and thoughts of their own. And here in the United States, we definitely empower them with the wrong power, but they have power. They just don't use it. And so I feel if I could just understand Greta for 1 second to see how she sees the world, is she like down that the world is just going to go into a flaming ball, or does she have this massive reservoir of hope that her actions and her speech will actually change the world? I would love to kind of like just be in her head for a second, because, you know, just recently she was just attacked by Andrew Tate. And it's just like, it's amazing how karma comes and plays back. And it's all related to the sheer fact that one person is an example of excessive consumerism and is proud of it. And the other person is a young minded human being who's saying all of that is destroying our world and you don't see it. And you kind of just, she's kind of like blameless. She's innocent. And then this guy gets arrested for thinking he's cool as whatever. And then his message is twisted. And so you can kind of see this differentiation out between people who want to do good and people who want to continue playing the game.
All right. Ready for another question?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Next question. Okay, Alexander from Colorado. Next question is, which talent do you wish you had?
Which talent do I wish I had? I wish I was a bit sportier, because I do teach sports, exercise science. And so it's kind of like my little secret. Because of my illness, that's how also I learned that it was getting bad. When I was a kid, I tried to play soccer and then I just couldn't. Running up and down was not a possibility. So I was restricted from ever really joining huge teams because I can't really control the training program. So this is why I did martial arts and individual sports, because I can control how hard I push myself. But if I could, I really wish I was athletic to the extreme in multiple different disciplines.
I see. And but right now you can do sports? Now you can. Okay, now.
Oh, no, I've always, I was born with an illness that wouldn't stop me regardless. Instead of doing team sports, I did martial arts. So that still caused problems, but not as much as if I was on a team. The other thing is, there's so much to my condition that makes me have to like revert back to simpler ways of living, even down to my shoe choices. Like I'm the person that buys the shoes that have the wide front, because most shoes deform people's feet. If follow those groups, but you'll see that most people's like orthopedic situation with their toes are all crunched up because sneakers come to a point and our toes don't come to a point. They need to be spread wide open. So like very simple things like that, like I couldn't wear cleats, I would be destroyed and things like that. So in the martial arts, it's barefoot.
All right. Next question. Let's do Alexander. Before the next one, as you mentioned before, that your mom is from Colombia and your dad is from Uruguay, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you grow up speaking Spanish or not?
Yes and no. My father spoke Spanish only. My mother was educated in English in her schooling, so she spoke both, so she was bilingual. And so I was born in Newark, New Jersey in 1979. And so, you know, acceptance of Latin culture wasn't exactly a big thing. So like, unless it was Telemundo television, you really didn't see like Spanish spoken on regular TV. So I was raised with my television. So English was my first language, honestly, but I needed to be able to understand and speak Spanish in order to communicate with my father.
Wow. And for you, was it easy as a child to speak both languages?
Yeah, it wasn't a huge problem. Yeah, I find languages to actually be quite fun, which is why it's always been really interesting when I go traveling around the world and I hear similarities. Like I've been in a past relationship, I like 20 years ago, I did a backpacking tour through Europe. It wasn't a tour. It was actually, what I like to do is I like to buy a ticket, go there, and then figure it out. And so a lot of those places I went because my ex-partner spoke French fluently. And so then while we're going through France and Bordeaux and the south of France and doing a whole bunch of things, I was realizing how similar these Romance languages are, that I could get away with just speaking Spanish and people would understand me. So it's very interesting to see how we think we're different and we're really not.
Absolutely. Okay. Next question for you is, what's your favorite TV show?
Ancient Aliens at the moment. I don't know if you know what that is.
No, it's something on right now, or it's beyond TV, or it's quite old.
It's all of those. It's quite old and it's still on. It's been on for almost 15, 16 years now, actually. It's a show that represents a theory that has probably by now is not necessarily accepted, but it's not that easy to deny, even though it's radical. It's the theory is the ancient astronaut theory. The theory is that our planet and our megalithic structures and all these things that we have no answers for how the hell they were built and that are way older than we say they are. And the fact that they're still there and there to begin with, the show explores the mysteries of our planet and then tries to make connections with the fact that more than likely human beings were genetically created. And it's funny because Western science it's funny because the Western world says things that they never put a period to. They go, oh, chromosome 2 somehow split in the old simian race, so monkeys or whatever, and then the human brain started to develop. But how that happened, we just don't know. And it's just very interesting because we're unique. As creatures on our planet, we are creatures, but we are unique. And so how we got to our uniqueness is what the whole point of this show is. Like, what happened in the time period before people actually remember? And so it's very popular. In fact, now even other shows spoof it because it's just kind of like, we're waiting for the aliens to come down. In fact, one of the most recent ones last year was the fact that the United States finally admitted, I don't know if you're aware, but Trump signed a declaration to allow some top secret articles to be released from the CIA. And so and then of course, after that, they started to release the videos that were recorded by the military Navy, which are of UAPs. So now we have a new term instead of UFOs, unidentified aerial something. I forgot what the P is, phenomena. And I think now it's out there. I think in 2020, since the signing of that, and then since finally, you have to understand that being born in the United States and always feeling like something was being held back, like the truth wasn't always being told to you. It's very interesting now that the United States is like, oh yeah, Roswell did happen. And oh yes, something did happen. And it's like, well, people have been saying this for such a long time. What was the problem of admitting it back then? What is the problem with us knowing that things like that happen? And so that's what that show explores. And there's just so much. It's very deep because it involves the construction of governments to hide secrets and what kind of secrets are being held and what is in plain sight that you don't even realize has nothing to do with human intellect. It's something else. So I highly recommend it. Ancient Aliens, really good show.
All right. Okay, I have 3 questions left for you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Let's do it. And I'll tell you something now. Actually, I had so many interviews on the show so far, and I will never forget our interview. Do you know why?
Ours?
Yeah, do you know why?
No, why?
Because it's the first interview that I stopped in the middle of the interview to do another guest and come back again to finish. It's the first one that happened to me. Like, it's so funny.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I guess my story is interesting.
So we're always going to remember that because, because of time, because we couldn't finish. And I was aware of the time and I knew that I had someone else. So I kindly asked, and thank God you had time as well. So we could wait this hour so we could finish now. So good. I'll always remember that. When I'm there, like write my book about the magic box or mention, I'm going to remember that situation for sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be happy to read that line. I'll be like, that's me.
Okay, Alexander. So I said before that we have 3 questions, okay? So yeah, let's go. Next question for you is, what made you laugh this week or this month? Something genuine.
The cuteness of my dogs. I've had 2 weeks with them and I just moved into this new house and I moved out of a an apartment a little bit more east in Denver when I first got here. And the thing is that it was on the third floor, and my dogs are very special to me because I'm an animal person and I love animals. My ex and we got a Boston Terrier in Florida, in Miami, when I was there. And then when we moved out here, he was all alone. And so we were thinking about getting him a partner. So we ended up finding a breeder that for over 20 years have been breeding Boston Terriers. So the picture I just sent you is the one that we ended up getting, that I got. But the problem is that whole complication with my separation was that she got knocked up because it was the pandemic, and the veterinarians had like a long waiting list, and it was complicated. So she never got fixed, and I was working really hard, and there's a reason why he's my ex, but he never took the opportunity to get her fixed. So she got pregnant by our old dog. And so when I say my dog, it's her and her two children that are like a little bit over a year now. So they still have that cute puppiness to them. But I've had them locked away in an apartment, and I just haven't been able to give them the attention. So this past month, when I knew my lease was going to be up and I've been looking for a new place for several months now, I was like, I have to get a dog house, literally like a house for dogs. And I found it. It turned out it was a blessing. So it has a full fenced in front yard and backyard. And so they run. So it's so beautiful now because I just let them out and they go and play, run, and they come back, and then they jump on the couch with me. And it's really beautiful to see how happier they are. And I like that actually has brought so much joy to me because I don't know if you were into dogs, but
I love dogs.
Boston Terriers are notorious for being quirky little dogs.
I see.
Yeah, very intelligent. I mean, the two puppies that I have that are not puppies anymore, but they used to they learned how to open the doors in my apartment and cause havoc. So I would come home thinking that everything was going to be fine. And every single day I would come home to some new cleanup project that I was not expecting. And like an entire room destroyed with all three of them. And they would lock themselves in there by accident. So then it was just far worse. So it's been a joy just to be able to like not be stressed out from having dogs in an apartment that I wasn't taking care of properly, to now like they're just so happy. Like I see it on their faces. So I laugh uproariously.
2 questions left for you, Alexander. Let's do it. Next question for you is, how would your best friend describe yourself?
While I may come off as a very sweet person, I definitely draw my lines. And so sometimes my friends don't realize my lines are for my personal comfort, and they think it's a personal attack on them. So I think my friends know that I am a very, I could speak about myself in positive terms, but I'm going to definitely tackle the one thing I know. My friends sometimes are like, God, why are you so truthful or blunt? And I'm just like, it's the way I am. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat the situation. How I feel is how I feel. So I think my friends would describe me as sweet and giving, and would give his shirt off his back for someone, but definitely knows how to draw the line when they don't feel like, they know I don't feel like that's going to be appropriate for me. So I can be very truthful.
Most of your friends, they are gay or they're straight?
Mostly straight now. I mean, I just moved to Denver, so I don't really know anyone. And then of course I had my breakup. So then all those people kind of like disappear once the relationship's over. So most of them are teachers, mostly straight, although there are a lot of gay male teachers in my school, a lot of lesbian teachers too. But my school is very proud. We have Denver has a very nice open community, especially in the education. You end up coming across a lot of LGBT community. just depending on what state you live in, depends on what they tell you, what you can and cannot reveal about yourself. I mean, in New York, in the years that I was working there, you know, having your personal life blown up on Facebook was always a liability, because any student has access to your personal life. And of course, we see that everywhere, people getting in trouble for pictures they post and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, most of my friends are straight. I do have a lot of gay friends. So it's a mix.
I see. Okay. Ready for the last question?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Let's do it. Last question. Okay, but before the last question, Alexander, being a teacher, for sure you learn a lot with your students. Yeah, I'm sure like there are a lot of lessons through. Tell me your career, through your career, there is like a special lesson that you've learned with any students that you always gonna remember, if you can share.
Oh wow. Yeah, I can definitely share. I think it boils down to one answer, but I can't boil it down to one student, because it definitely, like I was telling you before, when I started teaching, it was in special education in New York City, which is just a beast of its own. And I can tell you, I can tell you that I have scars on my body from teaching. I can tell you, I can go that way. So from having to deal with behavior is really one of the biggest issues in education, wherever it is around the world. I don't think, well, let me just speak about the United States. I feel that unless it's pushed onto you or motivated in you as a student or as a child growing up in the United States, being intelligent, having like the desire to study, learn, and grow and be more, while it is there, it's not necessarily promoted through education, as in like be smart, sit down, read books. A lot of people don't do much of that anymore. At least I see that in my students. But I think that the biggest lesson I have received and still apply is actually compassion. To have compassion, because truthfully, students are little human beings, and we, like children, are small human beings developing their understanding of society. And my role as a teacher, while the state and the government and the principal wants all the students to pass those tests with high marks so that the school gets the funding, so that the state can release more money towards education, this, that, and the other, that's not what education is about, in my opinion. It's the sheer fact that if I were to ask you what you remember about your most favorite teacher, you'd probably say it's because they were kind or loving or understanding. And I've heard that over the years. It's never about they cracked open the mystery of mathematics for me or they made me understand science. It's not that. It's the feeling of the teacher to the student that's transmitted. And I have seen many bad examples of adults being worse than the children, starting fights over stupid, sorry, I don't mean to curse, over stupid things that, as an adult, you shouldn't get yourself into a fight with a 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, because what that speaks to is ego. And it speaks to the fact that the teacher wants to be right, the ultimate representation of knowledge. But once again, I don't remember the lessons that I learned when I was a kid. I just remembered how those teachers made me feel. And that is the lesson that I still carry to this day. And to be truthful with you, most students say that about me in my courses, that I make them feel welcomed. I make them feel like their opinion counts. I make them feel like a person. And there's a little bit of that dehumanization in school systems where we strip away the identity of that student to be more compliant so that they can be easily given more directions and they can do more work. I think I say the word work so many times. All right, guys, get back to work, do your work. How can I help you with your work? And it's almost like I feel, so this is education. I'm getting them ready to work 9 to 5. So they can hear the bell, get up and get out and do their thing and then be productive citizens. And I don't know if that's really what our society needs more of, more drones. I think we need people with compassion who can see another person suffering and come up with a plan to eliminate that suffering, not make it worse.
Right. Okay. Last question for you is, what is the weirdest food combination have you ever tried?
That was like last night's dinner. The weirdest food combination. I do have a couple of weird food combinations that I do like. Last night was an interesting situation. I had a can of chili from Trader Joe's, and it was just one can, but I was like, okay, I got to make this can like turn into a whole dinner meal. And I think I ended up throwing in the related foods, but it all became one bowl and that's what makes my food consumption weird, is I throw everything into one bowl and I just consume it. So it was like chili with nachos with onions cut up and cucumbers thrown in and all mixed into one big bowl. So it was one big porridge of, I'm a big fan of soups. So I think a lot of people don't like, here in the United States, soups isn't like the biggest thing, but I'm a big fan of watery combinations of things. So I'll usually make some weird soups or curries or sauces or some strange combination to put on. You know, being vegetarian, the vegetables taste best when they have a little bit of flavor and sauce and uniqueness to it. So that is my weirdest combination.
Okay. Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words and you just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Okay.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game.
One word for family.
Security.
Money.
Useless.
One word for love.
Made up.
Sex.
Fun.
Life.
Complicated.
Politics.
Lies.
Religion.
More lies. Complicated lies.
Fear.
Non-existent.
Friendship.
Hard to find.
Desire.
Constant.
Regrets.
Reflection.
Success.
Ephemeral.
One word for wish.
Many.
Happiness.
Plentiful.
One word for Denver.
For what?
Denver?
Denver?
Denver, yeah.
Oh, Denver? Cold.
One word for USA.
Potential.
One word for teacher.
Oh. That's a funny one. Teacher. Wow, that one like touches so many words. I can't just give you one. With teacher. Teacher. Life path. Path.
Okay. Again. So
Okay.
one word for alternative Chinese medicine.
Ancient.
Okay. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your best friend for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your best friends. Define you in one positive word and one negative word. What that would be.
Caring and stubborn. That sounds like that hit home for you or something.
Okay, Alexander, let's play now William the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But before that, let's play the music one more time. Actually, before you asking the question, as you know, 2022 is finishing in a few hours and a new year is starting a few hours now. Define 2002 in one word. What that would be for you?
Hectic.
Okay, good. You can ask me a question now, Alexander.
What are your hopes and dreams for 2023?
Oh, wow, good one. Okay, I think 2023, I think, when a new year starts, I think for some reason, there, people, they make new resolutions, people, they get excited somehow. We have, even though it doesn't matter what you believe or what you, the things that you follow, but there's always in the back of our mind that something's finishing and something new is just starting now. I think that's, we always have this mentality. And I like that. I like this, the beginning of the year. For some reason, I just find exciting. I tend not to make a lot of like resolutions, but I just tend to always to improve in things that I've been enjoying doing like for the year past. Yeah, something new that came up, something new that I've been working on, like maybe something a challenge about myself that I need to improve somehow. So all those things that positive things and negative things that I need to improve, I need to work somehow, I need to change. During this beginning of the year, I always have this genuine mentality of, okay, I can do better, I can improve more, or I can start a new journey now. It's so, for me, 2023, what I hope for this year is that I can carry on with things that I start working on, and some plans that from the Magic Box as well. There are so many things that I'd like to do. So I think what I want for this new year is for me to be, let's see, more active in every, every journey of my life. Could be improvement, could be work-wise, could be about my channel, about my dreams, everything. 2023, and I'm quite excited as well because 3 is my lucky number, yeah. And today I was thinking about that. It's like, oh my God, there's a new year now, 2023. There's a 3 in the end. So I already got excited just thinking about it. So I think 2023 is going to be an amazing year, and I think it's gonna connect with number 3 as well, which is my lucky number. So I'm so excited about this new year arriving in a few hours.
Oh, that's amazing. Really great response. And I really like that you threw in your favorite numbers. Those are very important. I mean, they manifest a lot of things.
They do.
Yeah, 22, April 22nd is my birthday. So 2/2 this year was hectic because it was a lot of moving around, of changing my life and building up new structures to move forward. And that's what 22 is as a number. Yeah, and so that's exciting because this is also a 7, 20, so 2 plus 2, 4 plus the 3 is 7. So that's how people like also do the year as well. They'll reduce it to its one number, and so it's a good lucky number. And 3 and 7 are very powerful, especially 3.
Absolutely.
So that's very exciting. Why is that your lucky number, if you don't mind me asking?
Huh?
Why is that your lucky number, if you don't mind me asking?
Absolutely. I can tell you a very interesting question, Alexander, because when I was a teenager, before I left Brazil, when I was 19 years old, 1 year before, I went to those, those people, astrologers, and, this person told me, William, you're lucky number 3. And I told him, I said, oh my God, I already knew it somehow. Somehow I knew it because I always been connected with the number, even though I never thought about in astrology. But when he told me, I was like, oh my goodness, it's so interesting because number 3 always been in my life. If I tell you, I came to Europe on the 13th of March. I came to Portugal. I moved to London on 13 as well of March again. I have so many like events in my life, through my life, that was connected with 3. I remember I had interviews on the 13th or the 3rd, or, I have so like many situations in my life that all connect with 3. And it's so natural for me that when it's happening, I don't remember. But when I think about in the future, I'm like, oh my God, that was the date 13 or the 3rd, or you know what I mean? There's always some connection. So yes, the astrologer told me that, and I knew it somehow. That's 3. It's my lucky number. I had so many connections with the number, and so yeah, that's how I find out. But even before knowing, I already knew it.
That's awesome.
Alexander, before you go, if you can share a positive message, something that you live by.
Yes. I know it's a little bit cliche, maybe a little bit overdone, but it's definitely been a guiding one for myself, which is the quote by Gandhi that says, be the change that you want to see in the world. And I think that's a very important message, because I think a lot of people want to change the world, but they don't want to change themselves. And if they are part of the problem, then changing not themselves won't solve anything. And I think it takes a lot of power for people to really reflect on what they need to change themselves in order to see that. And, you know, our world is very strange and beautiful. We encounter the people that reflect our energies. And so I believe in that, because I want to see the people come into my life that will help me grow and be better, not necessarily challenging me and bring me down. And that might be the change that I do have to encounter. So it's a very interesting quote, because change is a very hard concept for people.
Amazing. Alexander, thanks so much for the interview. Happy New Year. Enjoy this new year ahead, just starting right now. And we keep in touch. It was a pleasure having you on the show, okay?
Absolutely. Hope to keep in touch with you, William. You've been great. And absolutely, it's been amazing. I'm going to sing your praises, and I'll try to get you more people to sign up for your show.
Take care, okay? Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Have a great night, William. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Take care.
Absolutely.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.